You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday of getting back at you.
We're living in a very dangerous time right now, and liberalism has lost their cotton-picking mind.
The Trump folks, if they found out how we knew what we knew about the Trump staff's dealing with Russians, that they would try to compromise those sources and methods.
Nobody ever said anything about resisting Obama. They went at him on legitimate arguments.
I really do believe that much of what you saw coming out of Trump's mouth was a play from Putin's playbook.
Welcome to the Abolitionists Roundtable, your all-access pass to exposing fake news, the resistance, and Barack Obama's shadow government undermining American progress. Be a part of the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, your all-American hosts, Del Marsh and Phil Stargell.
Yeah, what they did is they ran a correction. All right, great. Thank you. Thank you for joining the Abolitionist Roundtable. Good morning. Happy Independence Weekend. This is a big weekend that we're going to celebrate our nation, celebrate our independence, and also we're going to celebrate that we're going to hold on to this great nation that's been given to us. Is this a big job to hold on to a republic? Oh, absolutely is. Is it a big job to hold on where this is a government of, well, this is a country where we self-govern ourselves. Here, if we go back to self-govern ourselves, folks, there's no need for all these laws. Again, the founders, they believed that this was a country for a religious and moral people. And so if we default ourselves, not everybody was religious, not everybody was highly moral, but we're saying that if the people that was in leadership, that people that want to hold office, people that want to hold high positions, that they had to, there was a litmus test for people that you had to have a certain moral standard. So, but anyway, we want to say good morning, happy. This is a great weekend that we're going to celebrate our independence. There's a lot that's been in the news cycle the last few days. I want to mention one of them. Again, one of them was that you've probably seen that the New York Times, they had to retract their story. They had to retract a story. You probably seen they retract this story about, remember they were saying that it was 17 agencies. It was 17 agencies. It was Obama and others that was saying that there were 17 agencies, intelligence in the intelligence community that said that that they seen that there was a connection between the Trump administration and the Russians influencing our election, and of course they just recently ran a new article, a news story, and they had it, and at all the way at the bottom you'll see that they had to let us know that there was a correction, that there was not 17 agencies, but there was only 4. And some of these intelligence agencies are not high-profile agencies. These are very low-rank agencies. Some of us wouldn't even know, what's the Central Intelligence Agency, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the National Security Agency. One of the other ones was the Office of Directors of National Intelligence. Yeah. And so these were all very low field. These are low profile agencies.
Yeah. But those there are agencies that are even more low in their profile. They are less known, but they do have the investigation responsibility. Mm-hmm. And so so some of these people come up and do things that, just like with
Loretta Lynch,
Loretta Lynch
Susan
and
Rice.
Susan Rice.
That's right.
They were doing things that they say is legal, but I've found a lot of times that there are things that these agencies do, like with Scooter Libby. They knew certain things, and they even lied to get a conviction against Scooter Libby.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because you notice that during this time of the election, they were saying after election, I'm sorry, they were saying they continue to beat the drum of CNN, which are, again, the name of the show today, are we watching the fall of journalism? And I believe that we are in the era of the fall of journalism, and that we're watching CNN, personally, the fall of CNN. Matter of fact, we know that, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because one of CNN executives said that this Russian story is for ratings, Phil.
Yeah.
It's all about the ratings. It's not about, there's no truth to it at all. It's not going to lead into anything at all. Of course, Maxine Warder told us, well, it's not, we don't have anything, but if we stay with it long enough, Trump is going to lead us to the water. No, the more we stay with this story, Phil, you notice that the fingerprints is leading to Obama. We notice the longer we stay with the story, the fingerprints is leading to Susan Rice. The longer we stay with the story, we see that the story is leading to Loretta Lynch. The longer we stay with the story, we notice that Mr. Comey, who was supposed to be Mr. This guy of high integrity, we noticed that he was. I'm gonna go over that story too. But here, let me just mention this: that it was a story that he fell for, and the intelligence that he fell for, that he showed Loretta Lynch. And so we're gonna go over some of that right there. But the more and more that they stay with this now, you notice that they're gonna have to backing off of it a little bit. But go ahead.
But see, the whole thing about it is that this was a set up.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it was.
If you remember a couple of years ago, when not a couple of years ago, but a couple of months ago, when Trump was elected, and there was some antagonism.
They've been at this 7-8 months now.
Yeah, and there was some antagonism between Trump and the intelligence community.
That's right.
Chuck Schumer says that the intelligence community can screw you six different ways. You remember that?
Well, for one, if you listen to the opening of the show, he says that. He says that the intelligence agencies have 6 ways from Sunday of getting back at you, so you better be careful talking about them.
Now, they acknowledge that, right? So what happens? Comey turns around and for being fired, he turns around and causes Trump to have an investigation put on him. Now, to me, if that would happen in business or anywhere, what would they do? Especially with a female, they'd say he was retaliating against her, and it was a sexist act. What can you do when the president, the most powerful man in the world, it gets retaliated against? These people basically set up the president for an investigation that could lead to an impeachment charge.
Well, here, to go back to that for a minute, you remember that it was Comey that took these notes. Now, these are he taken notes when he had these meetings with the president, and now these are notes, and he's going over intelligence with him, and so he turned around and he leaked. Did he leak that? Leaked that information to his friend that he said was a professor at Columbia. You know, so I leaked it. Yeah, I leaked it, but I leaked it to somebody. There's a professor at Columbia that then turned around and leaked it to the press.
The same charge that Scooter Libby got charged for, and he never even made the comment. They charged him with identifying a CIA agent. And then what they got him for was saying that he lied because he made a statement to an FBI agent that he had no idea that he was even under investigation. And he did jail time.
Yes. Oh, you know, Phil, when that happened, I thought that was the most bizarre case I've ever seen in my life. All right, Phil, we're gonna Derek, we're gonna go to a break for a minute, folks. If you'd like to join the conversation, give us a call 734-822-1600. We're gonna continue with this for the first half. On the second half, we'll do a little something a little different. We want to celebrate our nation. We want to celebrate that we still have it, and we're going to celebrate that we're going to hold on to it. Yeah, absolutely, it's a lot of pushback, but folks, we're going to push them back too. I know there's a resistance out there, but we have a constitutional ground that we're going to stand on so that we can push them back. All right, so we're going to go to a break. We'll see you on the other side.
This is the Abolitionists Roundtable on WAAM Talk 1600. Join in the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, back to your hosts, Del and Phil.
Thank you for joining greetings. Thank you for joining the Abolitionists Roundtable. We're back again. If you'd like to join the conversation, 734-822-1600. We want to celebrate our nation, but also we want to also make sure that we go back over this. You know, here for the last 7 or 8 months, they've been running this story. This lie, this conspiracy about the Russian having influence over our election. Man, I don't even like calling radio show hosts out, but man, But boy, I heard Michael Medved, and he just confused me, and he said, wait a minute, that's not true. Russia did have influence over our election. Okay, wait a minute, Michael. I'm not even going to get into it because I don't want to get into what somebody else said, but and that really bothered me because I seen the Daily, when I looked at, I got an article from the Daily Caller. This was on June 29th. It says New York Times correct story claims 17 intel agencies agree on Russia. We know that was false. And so the New York Times, they modified their story down at the bottom. They explained that it wasn't 17, but it was only 4. And these were all low, Phil, we just talked about it. These are all low intel agencies, very low intel agencies. Yeah. And so we noticed that Comey did a correction in that. We noticed that Loretta Lynch. We noticed that even our own Attorney General right now, Sessions, did not, he did not correct that. They knew that this was a lie. You know how many stories was written out? There was thousands of stories saying that there was 17. I watched CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and every commentator said there were 17 agencies that are all consistent in their investigation that the Russian had influence over our election. This is all false. They ran fake stories. The New York Times manipulated the American this process. The American people, all Americans, they manipulated us for the last 7 or 8 months, and now they do a rebuttal. They do a correction saying that there were only 4 agencies, 4 low profile agencies. So again, we know that that right now they're grinding, they're backing off this story. They know that they have nothing, that it's going nowhere. The more and the longer they stay with this story, we're finding out the more it lead to Obama, it lead to Loretta Lynch, it lead to Susan Rice, it lead to all other different areas, but none of this stuff is leading to Trump at all. Zero, nada. Let's go to Bruce from Grosse Pointe, and we got to continue with this. We're going to continue with this a little bit for the first half, and then we'll talk about a little something on the second half, but this is big right here. This is really big, folks. They manipulated us. They manipulated people for 7 months with this 17 intelligence agencies, I've heard people, so there's thousands of stories out there with this misinformation, and now the New York Times come out and they retract that story and said, well, that information was incorrect. There was only four very low intelligence agencies. All right, so let's go. Good morning, Bruce. Happy Independence Weekend.
Yeah, happy Independence Weekend to you guys too.
Thank you.
You know, well, this is not on the topic, but because I was unable to access your shows online. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about a little bit real quick was this little kerfuffle that's going on between Mika and Morning Schmo and Donald. You know, you guys remember when Bush was president, and they said the most vile things about him, and he never said a word in his own defense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Sean Hannity would talk about that, and he even asked him during an interview at the White House why George Bush never would fight back. And he said, well, it's not being presidential. Well, this is what the media smells blood in the water. And they have been attacking Trump almost nonstop from day one, almost right after the election results were announced. And their agenda is to destroy this man, and he's not gonna go anywhere, let alone go quietly.
Yeah.
And what he has been doing is fighting back, and fighting back hard. How stupid are these people, guys, in the media? They don't realize yet that if you attack Trump, as long as you treat him with respect, he'll treat you with respect. When you start attacking him like that, and this is vicious.
Yeah.
I mean, they're having a psychiatrist.
It's not only vicious, but it's pervasive. Look, it comes from the colleges. It comes from Hollywood. It comes from the news media, the legitimate newscasters. These guys are not commentators. These guys are supposed to be broadcasting the news. Now, it has gone into our only investigative arms of government. It goes into the judges have signed on, the investigative branches of the FBI and a bunch of these other people have signed on, and these people are trying to really terminate the term the legal presidency of Donald Trump.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely, Phil.
And the way you do that is by making the man a pariah, making everybody dislike this man. That's why I've said that the American people have got to stand up and do like they did when they were opposing the other party in the way they oppose Barack Obama's agenda. They have to oppose this agenda, and it is likened to a coup. This is what this resistance is about. This is what they are, and every legitimate Democrat is part of this resistance movement.
And have you seen what they're going to be doing in Gettysburg this weekend, guys? That made me furious.
Yeah, we heard about that. But
here,
let me just hold on just a minute, Bruce. You said about this civility. We want to hear something from. Just hold on just a minute. Okay, Derek, if you could play soundbite number 3 for me.
Are you talking about this morning's tweet? Yeah, I just saw it a little bit ago. Obviously, I don't see that as an appropriate comment. I think, look, what we're trying to do around here is improve the tone and the civility of the debate, and this obviously doesn't help do that. Okay,
all right. Thank you very much. So this is Paul Ryan. He said we don't want to bicker. We don't want to be involved in this kind of stuff. Yeah, whatever the tweet is between them, we don't want to be involved. But watch Obama, Derek. If you can go ahead and play number 2 for me. Watch Obama with no civility at all.
I recognize that resorting to force may be tempting in the face of the rhetoric and behavior that emanates from parts of Iran. It is offensive. It is incendiary. We do take it seriously. But superpowers should not act impulsively in response to taunts or even provocations that can be addressed short of war. Just because Iranian hardliners chant death to America does not mean that that's what all Iranians believe. In fact, it's those hardliners who are most comfortable with the status quo. It's those hardliners chanting death to America who've been most opposed to the deal. They're making common cause with the Republican caucus.
Whoa, Ralph. Whoa. You talking about the hardliners in Iran, the mullahs that are shouting death to America. They're making common cause. I don't know if you heard that right there. Making common cause with the Republicans. That's not civility. The Republican caucus. That's not any kind of civility there. Right there. Not. That's manipulating us. I mean, he's saying that the Republicans are making deals with the people that are shouting death to America. There's no civility there. And so we have to fight back.
Talk about collusion.
Paul Ryan don't want to fight back, but we at war.
Yeah, talk about collusion.
Right, but these people need to be primaried out, especially people like Justin A. Marsh, who is the only Republican to vote against the passage of Kate's Law in the House of Representatives. This guy, what is wrong with this man? This is ridiculous.
All right. Thank you, Bruce. We're going to have to see you. We'll talk to you soon. Happy Independent Weekend. Folks, we'll see you on the other side of the break. Thank you. 734-822-1600. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
The boys are back in town.
You're listening to the Abolitionists Roundtable with your hosts, Del and Phil. They're exposing the left's underground resistance while leading the charge in the fight for liberty. Join the conversation at 734-822-1600.
Hello, I'm Milt, and this is Logically Speaking Uncensored. Democrat Party rewrite revisionist history must be stopped. When a nation allows its history to be corrupted with rewrite revisionism, the integrity of national history will cease to exist. In George Orwell's classic novel, 1984, the maniacal dictator Big Brother had a department whose assignment was to rewrite and revise history that was positive for Big Brother and remove that which was negative. Since the 1960s, the Democrat Party has made rewrite revisionist history an obsession in a frantic effort to eliminate evidence of their deplorable deeds of enslaving blacks and their support for the Confederacy, the Ku Klux Klan, and racism. And to implement their rewrite revisionism, they adopted the strategy of Big Brother in order to extricate themselves as facilitators of slavery and the Civil War that took the lives of over 600,000 fellow Americans. In the book, 100 Years of Slavery by Ralph Ginsberg, there are numerous real-life newspaper excerpts which detail the atrocities inflicted upon blacks with Democrat Party approval. Today, the Democrat Party has placed many blacks, their most loyal supporters who supply the margin of victory needed for them to win national elections, in their ideological petri dish, where with revisionist history, they have acculturated them into a mindset that has them helping Democrats hide evidence of their crimes of human bondage and unspeakable brutalities upon their black ancestors. The success of rewrite revisionism is reflected in the fact that many blacks have invalidated their legitimate history by abandoning the names colored, Negro, and black for the moronic misnomer African American. In New Orleans, a museum of Confederate history was closed when displaying the Confederate flag was deemed to be racist by petri dish acculturated blacks who failed to realize that the Democrat Party and the Confederates were one and the same. The Democrat Party rewrite revisions of history is an attempt to reinvent themselves as the paragons of civil rights especially for black Americans. But their fascist intrigues cannot continue because the Confederacy, the Civil War, and the Democrat Party history are inseparable as major episodes of American history. Therefore, removing Confederate flags, memorials, and statues as a protest against racism is meaningless if the Democrat Party, hiding in the background, pretending to be innocent bystanders, are not held accountable for their evil racist past. If American unabridged history is to be passed to future generations, the treachery of the Democrat Party fascist rewrite revisionist history must be stopped. Because if it continues, the Democrat Party's next efforts could be book burnings, and the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and Christian Bibles will not be exempted. I am Milt, logically speaking, uncensored, saying, think about it.
Thanks, Milt, for sending that commentary again. That's a great commentary by great American Milt Harris. Thank you for coming back to joining the Abolitionist Roundtable again. And you know what? Let me go back for a minute. And then I'm going to get to this story in a minute, Phil. I don't know if I said it last week. I wanted to make a correction of something I said. I said that in Venezuela, that the average, I think I said the average person has lost 49 pounds. I think I said, well, the average, once I looked at it again, it said that the average person has lost 19 pounds. And so under socialism. And so my point is that if you want to lose weight, y'all vote for Bernie. So, and Phil, what's in Venezuela right now? It's really now again. This is a bus driver. This bus driver has just changed the laws, and what he's done is he's armed the people that are pro his administration against the people. And I think I reported this a couple weeks ago that it was a guy that broke in a store. He was trying to get him a sandwich and a bowl of soup. And before the police could even come, the people that he armed, his militia, this dictator over there, this socialist over there. And you pointed out how this is a all rich, all wealthy country,
supposedly,
and they don't understand the free market to get this out there, and they can take care of their people a little bit better. But anyway, so the guy, he tried to get him a bowl of soup because he was hungry. He done lost 19 pounds, but they dragged him out the store, beat him up, and hung the guy.
Oh my goodness!
And so this is serious. So they said if we don't eat a bowl of soup, you don't get one. But anyway, people feel that love this guy Bernie Sanders. Yeah. And he would put us in a dangerous situation like what's happening in Venezuela.
Yeah. What I saw in Venezuela is, I was watching, and these people had been sitting out in front of a food distribution point since like 11 o'clock that night. And about 9 o'clock in the morning when they opened it up, a couple of busloads of people came in that were cronies of the people in charge in Venezuela, and went in and took all of the food. Didn't leave any.
Those were all his government workers. They took the food and left the people with nothing at all.
Yeah.
And so this is what socialism
So if anybody should have been, taken by the rope, it should have been some of those people. I mean, that's just incredible.
You're right. But they got what Bernie and
they got
others
the guns,
don't want. They got the people with the guns that's going to protect them. And so, but anyway, they don't want people to have guns. All right, so here, let's go back to, and then we're going to get to our calls. This is going to be a big weekend, and the Republicans need to prepare for this. I know they understand what's going on. This is from June 29th. It says healthcare activists plan to make GOP July 4th hell. Okay, so, and it says on the 4th of July, recess approach, progressive political organizations like MoveOn.org. You see, they still around. They still getting funded by George Soros. The revolution, that's probably one of Bernie groups. They want a revolution. They want it to be like Venezuela. And so they get, okay, they'll pay for their all their student loans off, but then now you sitting around waiting on a bowl of soup.
Yep.
The invisible, that's probably a group that's getting funded by Barack Hussein Obama. They invisible, but they'll throw a rock at you.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The Credo, among other groups that going to they say that they're going to keep up the momentum with peaceful protests. We know that these protests with leftists are not peaceful. They burn down cities. They burn down neighborhoods.
You have to change that one little word. Instead of they're saying with peaceful, it meant too peaceful.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It said with peaceful protest. No, it's not going to be no peace
it's going to be
there.
To their protest is going to be to the peaceful protesters. That's what that is. So, this is what Theron was talking about, the Tea Parties and the activists and on the Republican Party side have got to go out there and tell these thugs that they're not going to put up with it anymore, that they're not, with this resist movement, you are traitors to your country because you are resisting a constitutionally elected president. And I don't care how you feel about the man, and people like Paul Ryan, as far as I'm concerned, they can join those resistance movement because what he said was inappropriate, and he could have kept that to himself.
Well, I'm going to just read a couple more lines of this because I want people to be aware. We need to be aware of this right here. They say that they're going to appear at local, they're going to flood his senator's office, flood him with phone calls, but also they said that they're going to appear at local Independent Day parades. So just be careful out there at your Independent Day parades. If you see something like this happen, it's up to us, whether or not you're a part of the Tea Party or not. It's for us, peaceful Americans to step in, and we gotta help remove these people, push these people out. They're not going to manipulate our country like that right there.
Well, that's what they do. They have been manipulating the country for a long time. That's how come you got this nonsense about some sanctuary cities. And there is a tape of Barack Obama telling people that illegal voting, that's their right. They should be able to vote.
Wow.
And if we get a chance, we'll play that bite.
Okay. All right. So here, let's go. We're going to go to Gary. Good morning, Gary. Happy Independence Day weekend, my friend.
Well, back at you. Happy
Thank you. Thank you.
And we have to be glad and rejoice.
Yes.
Even in the midst of this hellstorm of destruction aimed at President Trump, he's doing some miraculous things out there for freedom and liberty. And we are born of free men, we live as free men, and we will die as free men. So be glad and happy Independence Day.
Thank you. Thank you. You know what? Thank you very much. We do want to give glory to God for still making this country a great country, an independent country, and still having to still be free men. Is it a fight? Absolutely, it is a fight, but that's okay. We're going to celebrate and we're going to enjoy ourselves this weekend. Enjoy yourself, Mr. Gary.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. All right. So here, we're going to get some more calls in just a minute. Derek, we're going to go to a break. On the other side of the break, we're going to get the rest of the calls. We're going to talk about whatever you want to talk about, and we're going to keep this moving.
This is the Abolitionists Roundtable on WAAM Talk1600. Join in the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, back to your hosts, Del and Phil.
All right, great. Thank you for joining the Abolitionist Roundtable. Here, let's get a few calls, and then we got to still have a little bit more that we want to talk about, but we want to hear from you. This is a big weekend right here, and we want to celebrate this weekend. We want to be happy about it, too. Yeah, is it a lot of stuff going on? It is. But we noticed that one thing that's happening, we're seeing a little bit of a turn around the corner because, Phil, they're starting to retract. Now, if the New York Times can run a retract and back off a little bit of their information, then we're starting to see a little bit of light And so now they want to do personal attacks at President Trump. Well,
they've been doing that. They've been
doing that.
Yeah.
They never stop. They don't like his tweets. Sometimes, you know what, I used to have say, why is he tweeting? He should go through, blah, whatever. But you know what? His way of tweeting is saying that, you know what, I don't need to go through the source of information the old traditional way, where you would, the news media would call you, they would sit down with you and interview you. Yeah. Well, he don't wait on them anymore to call him for an interview. His way of talking directly to his supporters is by tweeting.
Yeah, and if anybody thinks that that this is something new, just look at what Chuck Schumer and his crowd have been doing. They've been doing this ever since they've been Democrats. They just like with this health care thing. What do they come out? Elizabeth Warren, Chuck Schumer, all of the heavy hitters in the Democrat, Nancy Pelosi, all of them said people are going to die because of this legislation.
That's right. That did. And so they use an over-the-top rhetoric. You know, matter of fact, you've heard the last few days, I'm going to pull up an article in this, that the news media is now taking a position that because Trump is saying that their fake news is putting them in danger. Wait a minute, folks. If I'm not mistaken, it was a Bernie Sanders leftist that had a list of Republicans that he drove all the way across the country so that he can go to a baseball game and try to assassinate Republicans. That's why I said we want to be careful. These resistant groups that's going to be out in our neighborhoods at parades and others.
We know how hostile these college campuses are. Now, if the college campuses are hostile to Republicans and to active thought, not just open-mindedness. This is active thinking that people would go to a place like a hostile college campus and spout a little bit of common sense.
That's right.
And try to get somebody to understand why they're doing it, or
and
why
they want to try to have a dialogue with these kids.
And these people do not want any part of it. They will do any and everything to discourage you from even coming. But after you get there, your life is in their hands.
Well, their progressive professors encourage this right here. Yes. Those leftist professors. Here, let's clear the line real quick. And we want to say good morning to Joe from Wyandotte. Good morning, Joe. Happy Independence Day weekend.
Yeah, same to you guys.
Thank you.
Glad to be able to be on with you.
Yes.
Two quick things. Yeah. One about the Obama soundbite you played, and the other about 4th of July and Democrats. First, the Obama soundbite.
Yes.
Like Phil said, it's Obama who colluded with the hardliners.
That's right.
Obama who aided and abetted this nation's enemies.
Yes.
When Obama had a chance to speak up for the Iranian people that he tried to allude to in his speech, when they rose up and tried to have a mini revolution, he said nothing.
That's right.
Complicit with the mullahs to protect his Muslim Brotherhood allies, and he engaged in their psychological projection, like Milt talks about in Logically Speaking.
Yes.
Rewriting history, projecting the Democrat racism and trying to project that onto Republicans. It's ridiculous. Everything they're guilty of, they try to allege everyone else is to deflect from their guilt.
Yeah. And you know what's sad is that we do have all this history, and man, I'm thankful for the guy. He rose. He brought some two simple guys like Phil and I together, Reverend Yule and Milt, so that he can put us on. This is the greatest venue I've never ever in my lifetime would thought that Phil and I could ever sit in a venue like this and be able to talk to people, but. So this responsibility we take serious, this rewriting the history, this manipulate. Republicans have all this history, Joe, and that's sad that they would not speak. We did hear We heard Cruz speak out about this, but for the most part, Republicans don't even speak out about all this
and
great
that's how come
history.
They allow people to trash George Bush like they did. Yeah. You notice that the media, if you say something bad about Nancy Pelosi or any of the rest of them, the media immediately jumps on you and calls you everything and says to you that, you're a sexist, you're a homophobe, you're anti-Muslim, you're anti-black, or whatever.
Yeah, put those labels on.
And the first thing the Republicans do is run for cover. And we have got to find those people that are running for cover and uncover them and make sure that they don't get in a position again where they can let us down like Susan Collins is doing right now. And not getting on a board at least to try to do something about the things that are being done in the healthcare industry.
Yeah, what's unfortunate about Susan Collins? Susan Collins run as a liberal Republican in that district, and those people are happy with her. Really, what you want to do is you do want to get somebody to rise up that's a little bit more conservative. Even get a moderate to run, and then that moderate can be defeated in 4 years or 6 years, and get somebody a little bit more conservative in there. Yeah, it's a long. You want to look at it, that position, her position, long term. You want to unseat her, put a moderate, and move to, unless you're going to put some real money into it, and you can put a real conservative in that seat.
Well.
Yeah, and lastly, I wanted to touch on the 4th of July.
Yes.
It's part of my 4th of July tradition. Every year around 4th of July, I watch and recommend everybody rent. You could get it via YouTube. I'm not sure if it's on Netflix. Zemeckis film, the guy that did the Back to the Future trilogy, a film called An American Carol. It's a play on A Christmas Carol, and it's an important film that discusses America's founding. It's a comedy, but there's some great education that goes on in that film, and watch it with your kids if you have kids. It's about a Mikey Moron type guy who tries to ban the 4th of July, and it stars Kelsey Grammer, John Voight, Leslie Nielsen, even Bill O'Reilly's in it. Kelsey Grammer plays General George Patton. He does a great job, and it's a great film. It's called, again, An American Carol. It's a barrel of laughs, but underlying it is a very serious movie about Democrats and their hate for this nation. It discusses terrorism. It was ahead of its time. It came out in the 90s, and it turns out to be really prophetic, kind of like the movie Idiocracy.
Yeah.
It was more prophetic.
All right. Well, Joe, I hate to cut you off, my friend, and I appreciate you joining us, but folks, we're at the end of the show, and I want to just say Happy Independence Day. And it's also your responsibility to go to our website at artofmichigan.com and to continue to support an independent show like this. God bless you. We love you.
Roundtable invites the WAAM Talk1600 listeners to continue the roundtable discussions by mailing correspondence to Art of Michigan, Post Office Box 135, Garden City, Michigan 48135.
Or follow Phil and Del at artofmichigan.com. You can also send emails to artofmichigan@hotmail.com. And most of all, continue to listen every Saturday and tell a friend.